What's going on, y'all? It's TCG here, back again with another video, and today I have something pretty cool for you. I know I've been doing a lot of Queen content these past month and a half, but I just played in an online treasure cup yesterday, and I ended up getting top 100, so I wanted to share my updated OP04.5 Queen list with y'all, and show you what I piloted to get a decent spot. I think I did pretty well. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into that. There's a couple changes I made. I posted a deck list a couple weeks ago, and I just wanted to show you some of the changes. I talked about it in that video, so I'm going to show you what I actually changed and what helped me succeed and what might help you succeed if you're wanting to play Queen. I know that Queen topped that. It actually won the online treasure cup. The first place deck was Queen, so I wanted to share my deck list. Maybe you can take a look at that deck list as well, and you can put together your own deck list and have the same success. So before we get into that though, I want to shout out Dueling Guard. If you haven't heard of Dueling Guard, they're the best TCG accessory company on the market. They make deck boxes, binders, playmats, all of it, and they are such high quality. You will really never find anything like it. I'm telling you, the designs are beautiful, and if you haven't gotten anything from them, you're really missing out. So make sure to go check them out. I have a link to their website down in the description below, as well as code GumGumTCG you can use for a discount at checkout. What? You haven't heard of Dueling Guard? Dueling Guard is the best TCG accessory company on the market. They have high quality deck boxes, binders, and playmats made for people who enjoy playing and collecting trading card games in style. They have tons of designs based off of fan favorite animes such as One Piece, Bleach, Full Metal Alchemist, and many more. They hit the ground running earlier this year, making high quality TCG accessories with beautiful designs that have sold out many times. So if you haven't picked up any of their products, make sure to do so before they sell out again. I have a few deck boxes and playmats from them already, and can attest to how they don't cut any corners when it comes to quality, performance, and design. I highly recommend their products and use them every time I play cards. Be sure to check the description below for a link to their site and use code GumGumTCG for a discount at checkout. Alright y'all, so before we get into this, I do want to apologize again for no face cam. I know I had this on the last couple videos. Like I said, I'm still working on that. Hopefully I'll have one here soon, but for now, until I figure something out, we're just with the top-down view. And as you can see, we got the Queen leader, we got the I Love You Dawn, and we got the Queen deck. So before we get into this, I actually wanted to talk about my matchups. So it was a 10-round treasure cup. It was all online, and I played right here on this beautiful mat right here. And yeah, I had a great time doing it. If you've never played in an online event, this was actually my first one, and I was super excited. It was also my first big event outside of like a locals or a larger held local tournament. So I was a little nervous, but I mean, I've been playing the game for over a year. Really ready to play in more big events, hoping to get into more in the future, but for now we'll have to wait and see. But I do want to say this mat is from Dueling Guard, and they actually have it up on their website. I've gotten a lot of comments about this mat. I've gotten a lot of questions at locals about this mat. If you like this Luffy mat, you can go pick one up yourself right now at duelingguard.com. Use code GumGumTCG for a discount. But let's go ahead and get into these matchups. Like I said, it was a 10-round treasure cup. Round 1, I played against Green Purple Dofi, which is actually one of my worst matchups. I think it's one of Queen's worst matchups because of the 10-drop Dofi. They also play a lot of blockers in that deck, and near the end of the game, they can have like 4 blockers on field and then go 10-drop Dofi and lock your big guys and your leader, and then you're kind of just out of the game at that point. And it can be a really tough matchup. You really have to play it right, and that's why I made some changes to this list to help accommodate for that, help me stack my life better in the late game, and also play around that 10-drop Dofi. So I'll show you those here in just a minute, but that was my first matchup, and I did win it. I played very carefully. It was a close game, but playing carefully got me the win. And then round 2, I played against Red Zoro. I wasn't expecting to see this, honestly. But people are still running it. The guy I played against was playing a Whitebeard Pirates 1-drop version with Ezo, Flamenco, Buggy, finding those events, and still a couple Straw Hat cards, you know, the Zoro, the Rush Luffy, and actually Diable Jambe, which I didn't know he had, and he tried to close the game out with, but I just had too many cards in my hand and good triggers out of life, so he couldn't take that down. But it was a very close game as well. Round 3, I played against Katakuri, and it was a loss. It was honestly just a big blowout, and he had, I mean, all of his life were triggers. He had triple Big Moms, and there was just nothing I could do. I tried to keep his board cleared. I tried to hit with 7s the whole time. Really nothing I could do in that matchup. Same with round 4. I played against Katakuri again, and it was another loss. It was not as big of a blowout, but it was still equally just as hard of a loss. So I tried to pivot and play a little differently towards the next game, which was another Katakuri, and I actually ended up winning that one. He did not see the 10 drop. No, he did see one 10 drop Big Mom, but his triggers out of life were not very good. And I think that helped me get that victory. I also had good removal. I was hitting him for 7s. I was doing everything I was supposed to do, and that one I actually did end up taking down the victory. Round 6, I played against Smoker, and it was a strange game. It was a little close, but at the end there, I gained so much life and had so much pressure on him that it wasn't close. So we got too into the long game when I had too much board presence and life gaining and removal, etc. It wasn't a good time. And then round 7, I played against Film Kid, which was also one of my really close games. I mean, we were both down to like no life on this last turn, and it just came down to triggers and a couple cards in hand. I had stacked my life so many times in that game, and I stacked so many triggers. I had like multiple trigger blockers out of life, and I had I think 2 Capones, and then at the end I stacked like 2 2Ks and a 1K, and it happened to be what I needed to win against his last hit. So got that one. And then round 8 was also against Film Kid, which was also a really close game. Green's tough. Green is really tough, and he actually double 10 drop Dofied me, but I had double Red Rock. So I think if I didn't have those Red Rocks, it would have been completely different, and he would have been able to take it down. But he also played Krieg and blew up half my board, got me for a double attack, but on that double attack, my last life card was a beige, and I was able to stop his leader from attacking. So I could see his Dawn. I could see he was planning to attack with leader twice. I stopped him from attacking at all with that, and that got me the win there. Then round 9 was another win against Green Purple Dofi. It was another kind of tough game. I felt like I had more control over that game the entire time because I just had the removal for him. I kept hitting. I was super aggressive early, and I gained too much life. It wasn't too long of a game, but it was still well played. And then round 10, my hatred for red decks has come back once again. I have a new one that I do not like, and it is Red Purple Law. I actually have never played against that deck before, except for my first time yesterday in this last round. And unfortunately, it was also like my worst hand out of the day, and my worst life out of the day, and my worst draws. It was just a culmination of all the bads, and he had what seemed like everything. So it was definitely a very tough game. I got into a position where I knew I could not get out of it, and yeah, it was kind of over from there. It was well played by him though, and especially for playing such a new deck. If I had won that game, I would have gotten 40th place, I believe, but because I lost that, I ended up getting 92, which I think for a big 1,024 player tournament is pretty good. That's top 10%. I feel pretty good, especially for being my first big event. But enough talking about the event and my matchups and stuff. I want to show you what I was playing. So obviously we were playing the Queen leader. I'm not going to go over it again. Leader lets you heal. Pretty broken. Then of course I got the I Love You Dawn. It's the best Dawn there is, so got to play all 10 of those. And then we will go ahead and let's just go ahead and get into the deck list. So in the last video I talked about putting Perona into the deck, and I ended up doing that. So I ended up playing 3 copies of Perona. This card was magnificent, especially early game. Just being able to stack your life on turn 1 is really strong. And then also to be able to pair it, like ideally I go second, and pairing this with a blocker Law that gets my hand low, my deck stacked, and I have some insurance over the next few turns with a blocker. It's really strong. It's a 1K. You can stack it with Katakuri to get it back and stack again the next turn. it's just really strong. And then in some of those games against decks I needed to be more aggressive against, I would go turn 2 and I would put all my Dawn under this and my leader and swing twice to get more counters out of hand or more cards out of their life. Definitely a good inclusion in the deck. I was very happy with playing this and very happy with how it performed. 3 felt great. I think 4 would work as well, but I wouldn't play any less than 3. I definitely recommend it though. If you're thinking about playing Perona, do it. It's a godsend. It's really, really helpful. Next, we're on 4 copies of Kaya. Just got to have a strong 2K counter that you can also draw cards with. You know, like there was a turn where I did play the Kaya to draw some and cycle my hand out because I had nothing but big bodies and I needed some counters, and it actually ended up helping me win that game. So very useful card. I think if you're not playing Kaya, definitely play Kaya. It's solid 2K counter. Like I said, that draw 2 can really save you when you're bricked up with nothing but 9 cost bodies in your hand. So definitely include Kaya in your list if you're playing something else like Sasaki. Then I am on 3 copies of Trafalgar Law. I had 3 copies in the last deck list. I talked about playing more. I tested more, just the additional 4th copy, and I think that it was just too much. I like seeing this card early game. I do not like seeing it as much late game, but it's definitely very helpful. I think 3 is the right number. I think if you're going to play this, you play 2 or 3 or done. I don't think 4. I think 4 is just too much, at least for me. I mean, it's just one more, but this list is really tight. I was having a hard time cutting things and figuring out what to do with other cards, and I enjoyed 3. You know, I'd see it in my opening hand, and I'd really like that. Like I said, if this paired with Perona in your opening hand going second is really ideal because you get to stack for the next few turns, and you get that insurance with this blocker. Very helpful. Even when you get it out of life, you can play it next turn for just 1 Dawn. Like especially with Katakuri, like you can play this Katakuri that gets 2 cards out of your hand, the last Dawn on your leader, swing to heal. It's really strong. So definitely enjoy playing this card. Don't know if I would cut it, honestly. I really like Law. I think that it's a fantastic blocker in the deck. Then next, of course, we are playing 4 copies of Capone Gang Beige. This card is phenomenal. I got this card out of Trigger so many times yesterday because I was able to stack it with Perona and Dofi, and sometimes it was just luck. And I mean, this card can win a game. You know, you pull this out of Trigger on your last life when they're about to hit you for lethal with their last body. Nope, stop it. It's absolutely crazy. And then not to mention it's a 2K. If you need to play it on the field as a beater, you can. And then a few turns later, you can also stack it with Katakuri. So they know it's coming, so they can play around it a little better. But I mean, it's still there. It's super helpful, and you don't always have to trigger it. There was multiple times where I got this out of life where they did not have another body or something, and I didn't trigger it. I just kept it as a 2K, and it helped me out later. So definitely a 4 of in any yellow deck. Honestly, this card's stupid. This card's really stupid. It's so good. Then next, I'm going to talk about both of these at the same time. This hasn't changed from the last list either. 4 copies each of Hancock and Brûlé. Both of these are crazy. Just having a trigger blocker out of life is awesome. 1,000 counter, 3 cost. Like if you have 2 of these in your hand, late game you can play both of them. Maybe even a Law or a Perona. Stack your life. You got your hand low, and now you can stack with your leader because you have your 9 on field. Absolutely broken cards. I mean, these coming out of life helped me so much in all of my games, honestly. There was one game where I got like 2 of each in my life, or I got like 1 of this, 2 of this, and a Sanji. It was crazy. Yeah, and then stacking them with your Peronas and Dofis to then stack onto your life with Yamato or your leader, just broken. I don't really need to say anything else. You gotta max out on these. They're just too strong. And then next, I've already mentioned it, we're playing 4 copies of Doflamingo. Really, really good. You want to see this in your opening hand. It lets you stack. It can be a beater for 1 Dawn. It has 1,000 counter. I mean, it's got all of it. The only thing that would make this card better is if it was 5K. And we actually get a better version of this in the next set, which is the X-Drake. It's 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1,000 counter, and it does the same thing. Looks at the top 5. lets you stack it, and then it is also a blocker. So I'm looking forward to that, but I don't know how that will fit into the list. Might cut the Peronas for that. I don't know. I'll have to toy around with that. However, this card was a godsend, especially in those games I needed to be extra aggressive. I play this turn 2, and then on turn 3, I can start swinging with it, play another blocker, it's protected, or if they go after it, I mean, let it die. It was a blocker anyway. It served its purpose. It got a hit in. It blocked one of my life attacks, whether it be from actually blocking or them killing it. Like, I don't care. I got to stack my life. I got a hit on you. Like, that's all that matters. Great card. Have to play 4 of it in this deck. I don't think you play any less, or you do not play this card. This card's essential. You gotta play it. And then another card I think is essential is 4 copies of Sanji. Just another crazy trigger blocker. The discard from hand helps you get lower in hand size for late game. Really helpful. The 5k stat line is really helpful too as a beater. You know, there's those games where you, like I said, you have to be extra aggressive against green and yellow. So hitting this early out of life, or putting it on the field early and then swinging with it, it's super helpful. You got to play 1,000 counter. I mean, not really much more to say. It's just another great card. And then we're going to get into the big boys. So I did talk about this in the last video. I changed the ratios a little bit. So I'm now on 3 copies of Katakuri. I thought 4 was too much. I think Katakuri is great, but I think Mihawk and Yamato are better just in this deck specifically. This can be very helpful with your trigger blockers. You can use them and then play this and put them on your life. There was many times against green where I would swing with a body I had on field, and I'd get like Punk Gibsoned for my, or Uta'd for my blocker, and they'd rest it, and then I would just go Katakuri, place the blocker on life, and then I'd use my last swing on my leader and the stack again. So yeah, it's a great card. I definitely wouldn't cut it, at least not right now. Like maybe in OP05 when we have some more options, I could see cutting it, but for now I do like 3. I was testing 2. It didn't feel like I saw it enough, and 4, it felt like I saw it too much. I'd rather see the other ones. So I think 3 is the sweet spot. It was really helpful when I needed it, and yeah, pretty good. I think the one thing that held it back though is that stat line. Having to put an extra Dawn on this to make it a 9k swing kind of sucks. There was also a point in my Zoro game where they lowered it with Otama, I believe, and then they jet pistoled it. So that really sucked. And yeah, I still like the card a lot. It's phenomenal. Yeah, I just think 3 is right. I did not like it at 4. So we are on 3 of that now. And in place of that 4th copy, I was on 3 Mihawk. I am now on 4 because I knew that we would be seeing a lot more green purple Dofi and Film Kid in the room. I wanted to max out on this for those matchups specifically. Just being able to drop this on the field the turn after they play their 7-cost Luffy and get rid of it, and then next turn be ready to start swinging with leader to stack life is it's detrimental. This card's phenomenal. It gets rid of a big threat on the board, and yeah, I mean, there was a reason I pushed it up to 4. It's for those green decks, and I really enjoyed playing it. Yeah, I think that it's the 2nd best character card in the deck. And we're going to talk about the best card, and you should all know what it is. This has not changed from the last list. I don't think this will change ever in Queen list. You always play 4 copies of Yamato. This card is insane. So many times this card just won me games from stacking a life, popping a card, and then also healing with my leader all in the same turn. It's so broken. It lets you heal 2, pops a card, hopefully a blocker, like especially in the green matchups, popping an or like I guess the green purple Dofi matchup, popping an Uta on the board feels so good. It's so good. And then you get to heal, and like theoretically you stacked with Perona earlier in the game or with Dofi more recently, and you know what that life card is and the next one after that because you're going to stack it with your leader effect too. It's so good. Love this card. I would play more of it if I could. This card's phenomenal. I say the only problem I have with any of these big bodies is sometimes you just draw too many of them. That's what happened in my 10th round. I drew way too many of them. There were 3 turns in a row where I drew Yamato, Mihawk, Yamato. And then I also got like 2 of them out of life. It was awful. Really wish I kept my first hand in that game. I might have actually won. And then this is a change I added in, I talked about in the last video. I am playing 2 copies of Gum Gum Rain. I would like to play more. I really just couldn't find the room though. It was either more of this or more Perona, and I opted for the 3 Perona instead of 3 of this. So I really do like this. It came up in multiple games where I was able to discard it in like a 9 cost that I didn't need, or something that I just didn't need out of my hand. Maybe a Red Rock that was dead in a certain matchup, or a 3000 Worlds that was currently dead. Like, just getting rid of something in your hand and getting 3000 counter out of it is crazy, because a lot of times decks are swinging for 7 at lead or into characters, and catching them off guard with this, just, it feels so good. I love it. Great card. I never use the trigger though. I think the trigger is really bad. I know a yellow one just got revealed, and I don't know what the trigger on that is, but if it's better than this, then we're going to switch to the yellow one, because these cards are broken. I don't know why people aren't playing more of these 0 cost events in lists. I think that they're insanely strong, especially when you're playing a deck with high amounts of top end that you don't have counter. Like, and then also just getting 2 cards out of the hand, that's essential for late game. Such a good card. Saved me multiple times. Saved my characters sometimes even. Like, I used it on a Dofi once, and the guy was like, what? So, and then next, this was another change. I'm down to 3 copies of 3000 Worlds. This was something that was last minute. I was going to be playing 3 more blockers. I was on the verge of either putting Pound or Shirley in the deck. Pound is good against certain matchups, just getting rid of a body, but I don't like giving my opponent life, so I was kind of on the fence about Pound. And then I was really considering Shirley, because she lets you look at your life, and just getting an early look at life, or your opponent's life even, can be critical. It can be really game changing. But I decided to opt for these instead. Just having that solid removal, it's super beneficial. You need it against certain matchups. Every time I played against green, I tried to make sure I had this card by turn 2 or 3, so that when they played Nami, I could just get rid of it, because Nami's just it's their engine. You know, if they don't see Nami, or they can't keep a Nami on the field, they do not get all those cards in hand, and that was essential, was getting this in my hand and getting the Nami off the field. So that's really what it was. And then the trigger came up a couple times too, where I was able to bottom deck a character that was annoying, like just a vanilla beater from green decks, or a small blocker from others. Super good card. Definitely enjoyed playing it. And then we'll get into the last card here, and that's going to be 4 copies of Red Rock. I believe I was on 3 and 3, and I'm still on 3000 Worlds. And now I'm on 4 Red Rock. I opted to play 4 of this because I knew that there would be decks that play big bodies in the room. You know, you've got your green purple Dofis, your film kids, your yellow decks, even red decks are playing some big bodies like that big red loopy. So I needed something to be able to get rid of them, and Red Rock is just more optimal than 3000 Worlds in a lot of cases. Getting rid of anything versus getting rid of a fixed cost is just broken. Also, stacking this in life was also really helpful against the green purple matchups. You know, there'd be turns where I would stack this in my on the top of my deck with Perona or Dofi, and I would do it so that I had it stacked in life, so that when I triggered it, I could get rid of like an Uta or a Nami. And that really helped a lot. Another big change to the deck is I'm not playing Soja King. I was on a couple copies of Soja King, and I decided to cut him because he's good. He's good removal. He's a good body. He's got 1000 counter, but I really just thought that I needed more defense and more utility instead of another body. I think there was only a couple times where I wish I had another big body that I could just swing with earlier than turn 4 or 5. So that's the only kind of regret I had about taking him out of the deck. But a lot of times his draw 2 and trash 2 effect, it can kind of hurt. You know, you'll draw 2 cards that you might have stacked for life, or I guess if you stack it right, you'll draw what you want, but it can be a tough decision on what to discard too. Like, sometimes I just want to play him and bounce a card, but you have to do the draw 2 effect, and I really don't like that. So I decided to opt him out of the deck. And yeah, like I said, this deck treated me really well yesterday. I feel like I did really well. I played really well in all my matchups, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one a lot. I don't know when the next online regionals or offline regionals are going to be posted, but whenever they are, you bet your ass I'm going to be in those. And Yeah, I feel like Queen kind of takes a step back next set. There's just a lot of better decks that it can't keep up with. But moving into OP06, I feel like we get a lot of really strong cards that Queen could take advantage of. So might be taking a step back on Queen next set, but in OP06, definitely be on the lookout for some more Queen sauce. I got some stuff I'm trying to cook up right now, and I'll definitely be able to share it with y'all here soon. But that's going to be it for the deck profile. I really hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I got 92nd with this list. I would have got 40th if I won my last round, but man, all my homies hate red decks. No hate to the guy. It was a really good game. He was really nice, really skilled player, and yeah, I want to say thanks to all my opponents yesterday for playing me and being good sports and being awesome opponents. You really pushed me to my maximum skill levels. Thanks to all my homies at locals and all my friends and everybody for pushing me. I really appreciate it. And next time we're shooting for top 64, top 32, top 16, top 8, even first. We're shooting higher. Shoot for the moon, baby. That's what we're going to do. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. I really hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.